Good afternoon. It's very sunny, but we have a lot of clouds blocking the sun, so yeah. Mounts and how I care for them. Well, I care for them very, very much, but that's not what's meant. Yay, an explanatory video, which is difficult to make because I forget a lot. But Hermine asked me how I care for my orchids, the mounted ones. She has a few in a living room, which means a totally different environment than mine. And yeah, how do you treat mounted orchids? It all depends on room, plant, moss, humidity of said room, temperature of that said room, and there's probably a lot more reasons I can think of, but I only have 5 fingers. If I use more, I will let the camera fall. Yes, okay. Well, first of all, moss. You've seen these yesterday, or in the latest update, depending on when I upload this. This has a lot of moss, and it is adult moss. And now you're gonna ask me, well, what does it look like? Well, hold up. Annoying kid. That's the difference between young moss and old moss. And if you want to see baby moss, that's baby moss. Same species, just in different states of development. And this doesn't hold as much water as this. And this is the stuff that holds the water. Now this is wild sphagnum, and I think that stays wet for longer than the treated sphagnum. Okay, so the age of the moss is a factor. This is still moist, but it could use a drop. This is wet, still. This is also full-grown moss, also still wet. This is a different species of moss, has nothing to do with sphagnum, doesn't stay wet for that long. The type of plant, well, this one likes it wet, really wet. And that's for the entire family. But I do have plants that don't like it that wet. Here's a Cattleya type. Those like to be wet for a very short period and then dry out completely. Well, I usually give them a little spray, but this one, well, I could easily skip that one for at least 2 or 3 times when the rest gets watered. This is Miltonia. This is a species that likes to grow a little bit more wet than other Oncidium types. So this one, yeah, not every day, but at least twice a week. Same as with this one. And this one likes to get wet all over. And here's one that doesn't need a lot of moss. And this one is mounted on moss that, well, basically doesn't hold any water. Just a little bit moist. Yeah, that needs to be, something has to be done to that one. Again, This is Miltonia, and I recently started to mount a different way. Let me see if I have one the old-fashioned way. Yeah, there. That's under the moss. Same as with this one, it's under the moss, and this one had a remoss. All the roots were still good, so I buried them again. But with other plants, like this one, this is Phalaenopsis, it's mounted on the moss, or not even. It will have to find its own way, which it does. More like that one. Well, yeah, probably. Now I can't find them. There's also a Cattleya type, and it's a rescue. It's just starting out to push out a new growth. After that, roots will come and they will grow on the moss. And I started doing that because every time I mount an orchid under the moss, the old root system dies. Very, very quickly, especially dendrobiums. I have some nobiles, which really don't work on mounts. But yeah, they lose all their roots. And this one is also a dendrobium, which I mounted on the moss, or in the vicinity of moss. You see here that roots are finding their way. Same here. These were mounted on the moss, roots are wiggling down. This is again mounted on a different species of moss, but you can see that the roots are wiggling into the moss. So humidity. At the moment it is just over 80%. That's usually a lot more. And that also keeps the mounts a little moist. A little moist longer than without such a high humidity. Temperature doesn't come into the equation actually. When it's warm, it's moist, and when it cools down, it's even more moist. Hermine, you asked about tree fern. Well, I had tree fern about 3 years ago and never tried it after that, but the tree fern you mean is probably this. And this is actual tree fern. Fern roots I use come from ferns like that. And you have to dig for it. This is an actual tree. This piece of the trunk. I don't know how long it will take before this goes off, but I don't think this can stay soaking wet for a long time. I had an orchid on this, and that got sent to me by someone, probably Mark or EJ. But yay, I don't use it. And that's mainly because my grow room is so incredibly humid. The stuff starts to rot when you look at it. I have some table mounts. Let me get the biggest one. Oh. This is my Black Comet. And again, this one has a little bit of moss on the roots, but really, really big air gaps. You can see here that there's a new growth coming So new roots should appear and grow on the moss. And it's basically trial and error. But now for the main event. Watering. These got a little spray every day with that one. And yeah, just a little spray on the top. They don't have to be soaked. Just stay moist. And that's only for the top row. I don't mind this one drying out, or this one, or that one. Bloody Jessie eye. Yeah, it's dead, Jim. I can get another one. And the rest of the mounts, that was my water bottle. Like that one doesn't need every day. And the main reason is that the moss will start to decay when it's too wet. Yeah, this grows on trees and sphagnum grows in a wet environment on the ground. It's a big difference. Here again, mounted on the moss, and you can see that it likes it. This feels all puffy, and that's because there's air underneath. This is actual growing moss. Ooh, you look good. Bit small, but and underneath here is a root system of Nobidae caecis. These sorry things. This is new stuff, which is barely making roots. And once every 2 weeks, I feed. And that seems a little low, but it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, this is also mounted on a moss, but I'm not sure what's wrong with this one. Okay, 13 minutes, that's a bad omen. Things like that, yeah, could be classed as a mount. It's mounted. It's potted in full moss. But you need high humidity. Well, the best is a closed room, like I have. But try to keep the small ones moist, unless it's a fast drying species, like Cattleya types. And mount on moss, not under it. And feed and water once a week. And when I water them with feed, they get drenched, all of them. And well, yeah, who could forget the Vandas? Let me try and get one. Does this work? Yes, it works. Let me try and turn it over. This gets soaked every 2 days for 24 hours. And it makes enormous roots. It has 4, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I call them puppies, they're not cakeys. Oh. Yeah, don't look up my files, you did yesterday. There we go. Yeah, it's a big one. This one has yellow flowers, if I'm correct. It could be the other one. That one. But yeah, these are also mounts, bare rooted. And yeah, vandas are very pretty, but I advise against them. They're too big. Unless you can get them outside like Nina and Fernanda. Okay, again, there he stands with an orchid in his hands. Let me press pause. And even these can be classed as mounts because they are potted up in sphagnum. Ooh, oh, that's big. Oh, super big. And this has absolutely no adverse effect on orchids. It's a myth, really. Ferns don't need that much food. And again, we give them food, so they will never ever starve or not have enough. And you have to admit, it looks nice. Yay! This one has live moss, which is growing by itself. Several small ferns, and these won't go that big. Oh, look at that. Damn. And if you can get ferns to grow on your mount, go for it. Ooh, you need a drop. Look at that, it looks pretty. Oh, godverdomme. Ja. Okay, I hope this was intelligible and intelligent. Probably not. Yeah, my mounts and how I care for them. And we stopped the update yesterday here, so that bit has still to be done. Not today. And that will include an update and a closer look at the mounts. Okay, later.